What's up? I'm Dave, and we're going to talk about how to get snails off of your cacti and how to get bugs off of your plants. We're also going to talk about beneficial insects and beneficial bacteria. So let's jump right into it. This is kind of like a second part of a series I've been working on. We are at my cactus farm on my home here, and we're going to jump into slugs and snails first, and then we're going to talk about beneficial insects and predatorial insects. So right here I can see I've got some snail poop, and it's also got some damage, some snail damage on it. So instead of just taking care of it, I thought to myself, hey, let's make the second part of this series I've been working on. I don't know if you guys want to subscribe or whatever to that, check it out, but cool series on how to get rid of slugs and snails. We're also going to be covering, how to plant cactus, how to take cactus cuttings, and tons of cool stuff. So what I've got here is wood ash. So I've gotten this from my wood burning stove, and wood ash is fine and powdery. It's like diatomaceous earth. And so slugs and snails do not like to crawl over this. Slugs and snails are nocturnal, so they come out at night, and you might notice in them making damage on your cacti. Like this pup here has got a small amount of slug damage. Sometimes it can be hard to tell if it was a rodent or a bug or what did it. But slugs and snails do a lot of damage, and in the daytime you can find them hiding underneath pots, and so that's somewhere that you could look for slugs or snails to get rid of them. The other place that slugs and snails often hide is under the rim or the edge of pots. So you could turn your pot and look and check out and see if the slug or snail that did the damage is actually underneath the pot. So the other thing you can do to look for slugs or snails is to come out at nighttime. They're nocturnal. So if you come out at 9 o'clock at night with a flashlight, you might be able to find them. My secret weapon here is Epsom salt. So plants love Epsom salt. It's magnesium sulfate, and plants love to eat magnesium sulfate. It gives flowers a brilliant bloom, and it gives fruit a sweet, yummy taste, and it gives essential oils and herbs that produce them a really fragrant smell. So when I lay down my Epsom salt to get rid of slugs and snails, I try hard not to just pile it thick. The plants don't like that. Salt can burn plant roots, but in a small amount, it's not going to really hurt your plant. It's actually going to benefit your plant, and they're going to like that. So I try to apply it like a salted seasoning, like you'd put on a steak or a marinade or a roast. So that can be put on potted plants without any issues. You just don't want to have a large amount. So I've got a small amount of salt and a small pot, and I'm just going to sprinkle a small amount. And I'm doing this after watering or after rain, because that salt is going to dissolve if it gets wet. So we don't want the salt to just dissolve. We don't want to lay it down and then water. So we've talked about diatomaceous earth being a powdery substance that snails don't like to crawl across. And we've talked about using wood ash from our wood burning stove or our fireplace. And we've talked about magnesium sulfate, Epsom salt. That bag that I pulled out was about 4 pounds, and it cost about $3. So you can buy that at a normal pharmacy for people. It doesn't have to be a plant food. And that Epsom salt is really cheap and about the same price as what you pay for plant fertilizer, really. So that's cool ways to get rid of slugs and snails. Another store-bought option would be Sluggo. You could buy the product Sluggo. I'm not an ad or an advertisement, so I'm just recommending that because it is people and pet safe and it is organic. So that's a simple bait. Try not to use any poisons. We're going to talk about why not use poisons. And that's because we want to increase the population of beneficial insects. Beneficial insects can help us out by kind of being our unpaid employees. They're in the garden 24 hours a day and they're around when you're not. Some are active in the evening and some are active in the sunlight hours. And we want to increase our population of beneficial insects. One of the things that helps beneficial insects is just having kind of a microclimate of plants here. So if I was to leave my cacti garden, that's what I grow, is cacti. If I just had it as barren earth and just the cacti, it'd be really hot for one. It wouldn't hold as much moisture. And the cacti wouldn't do as well as having these companion plants. And just having these companion plants gives an area for beneficial insects to live. So there's a lot of different companion plants you can use. That one we're looking at there is geraniums. One of the other species of geraniums, I've got one right here, is citronella. And citronella is awesome. I'm sure you've heard of a citronella candle. It has a really strong lemony scent and it stops mosquitoes and repels flying insects like gnats and no-see-ums. So it's a cool one to have around the garden, and it's part of the pelargonium family, which is the common geranium. And you can see I've got a lot of them growing. I just think they're awesome because you can grow them from cutting. I also grow them from seed, but I'll break a piece off here and I can just stick this in this blank spot and that right there will grow for me. So that's a cool way to increase your beneficial insects using companion planting. The other beneficial insect that's quite large that you can purchase is a praying mantis. And you can buy the praying mantis egg sacs. Oh my God, look at Jundo's like nap mode. You can buy praying mantis egg sacs, and they're like about the size of like in between this rock or this leaf. And you'd want to hang them up in your garden somewhere. Don't just set them on the ground. So say you received your praying mantis egg in the mail, and as soon as you get it, you might tie it with a string to an area that's slightly shaded. So you could put it right there, you know. You don't want to just have it out in the blazing sun like this. You want to put it somewhere a little bit dry and with airflow, but somewhere just a little bit sheltered and shaded, like for instance the backside of this cacti here. And then those praying mantis will hatch and hundreds of them will emerge, and those are all going to grow large and they'll eat larger insects in your garden. So praying mantis egg sacs, those can be purchased at a local nursery, or you can order them online and have them just kind of shipped to your door. I have some just growing natively and cruising around. The other thing that I have growing on its own is ladybugs. So you'll notice I leave a lot of weeds just kind of chilling around. I don't pull every single one out. Here's some weeds growing here. Those can be a place that the ladybugs can start off from. Here's a ladybug on the tip of this trichocereus candicans right here. If you can see that guy. And so he's chilling at the tip right there, and he's actively feeding and eating any small insect that is on that cactus. And at the end of his life cycle, he is going to make eggs. I don't know how that works. He is going to make eggs, that tricky little guy. And those eggs are going to grow into a larvae. And the larva is going to cruise around and actually eat tons and tons of bugs. So those will eat spider mites, baby scale, mealy bugs, gnats, aphids. They eat all kinds of stuff. So the larvae cruises around, and as the larvae ages, it eats more and more and more until eventually it latches onto your plant. Here's one right here. That's totally, I'll see if I can zoom. It's totally latched onto the plant and created a hard shell-like surface. And then that little guy will cocoon itself and turn into an actual ladybug. And the actual ladybug will come out and start feeding on even larger bugs. So ladybugs are a great thing to give a home to in your garden, and an easy way to do that is just to not remove every single weed and to do a little bit of companion plants in your garden. And you can also purchase ladybugs, and they'll come by a tub of like 500, and you can grab those at a garden store, or you can pick them up at a nursery. Sometimes Home Depot has them. They can be tricky to find because they usually keep them in a small refrigerator. So if you're able to find ladybugs or order ladybugs, you can release those. And if you do release them, I personally suggest that you release them in the evening. If you release them in the evening, they'll be really slow and they'll just kind of find a place to go to bed, meaning they'll stay in your exact vicinity, in your area. And then when they wake up in the morning, they're going to be hungry and they'll immediately just go to work finding food rather than just leaving. So if it's the middle of the day and it's super hot and they're disorientated and you release your ladybugs, they're most likely just going to fly away. But if you wait until the evening, they're most likely going to find shelter, they're going to go to sleep, and then they're going to wake up hungry and they're going to stay in your area. Looks like I've got a little guy. So those are some of the cool different beneficial insects that you can purchase. Some of the other beneficial insects that are just out and about are just going to be the standard honeybee. You can see this guy's collecting pollen here. And obviously honeybees are something just we need as humans. So giving them a simple place to live and collect pollen and plants they can collect pollen from is kind of key to our survival as people. And, that's something a lot of people talk about, and you can read all about that kind of honeybee stuff as well. But that's just one way of just kind of giving back to the planet, is just having some things that produce some pollen and letting the bees live. And the easiest way to let the bees live and thrive and do their thing is just to not kill them by not using pesticides. So for us as a human species and for the bees, just don't use pesticides. So if you're to see some bugs, don't immediately think like, oh man, I have to spray poison to kill these bugs. Maybe we can try to get a zoom in. So this guy here, I can see a baby gnat, okay? And so gnats can be problematic for plants because as larvae, they eat the plant's root system. And for young plants and seedlings, gnats can be like detrimental. Gnats can just ruin your young plants and your young seedlings. An easy way to get rid of gnats that's completely organic is Bacillus, and it's a beneficial bacteria. And the specific species, and I'm probably saying this wrong, you guys don't be afraid to just shout out in the comments for each other. I want the comments to be gold. I love to learn too. I don't have any notes or anything like that. I'm just walking around the garden, talking off the top of my head. So I believe it's Bacillus thuringiensis, and there's a certain subspecies, Israelianus, and that gets rid of gnats. And an easy way to purchase and find that is mosquito dunks. So mosquito dunks or mosquito killers are completely organic, and that's an easy way to just add a mosquito dunk to your watering can and to be able to get rid of gnats. The fungus gnats that takes care of mosquitoes and just other small flying soil-borne pests. I've actually found that it does help with root aphids too. So that's kind of a cool side effect of the Bacillus thuringiensis, is that it gets rid of multiple different species. The mosquito dunk is just like a circular disc that you can easily float inside of your watering can. So we've talked about slugs, snails, we've talked about gnats, then we were briefly talking about aphids. So something that gets rid of aphids that's really easy is spiders. I don't know if you guys can see this spider here, but in my garden I do have a lot of jumping spiders. Oh, perfect. So here's a jumping spider. Can you see that guy? So he's gonna eat anything that's smaller than him. Dude, what a cool guy just shows up on cue. Right on. Shout out to the jumping spider. So this guy here is gonna eat anything smaller than him. He's gonna eat any fungus gnats, any aphids, anything that is on the tip of this cacti. And so just leaving spiders alone and letting them do their thing is, I'm sure, a little bit hard to do, but these guys are cool because they don't make a web. But they do jump. So if you're growing indoors and you have bugs and you have issues and you have problems, you're not going to want all of these big bugs that we're talking about. So let's get into just growing indoors and not wanting to have such large predatory insects. You know, releasing a bunch of ladybugs inside of your grow tent isn't always the most fun. So what works well for those environments and those situations is having beneficial bacterias. The mosquito dunks work well, but other beneficial bacterias like I can't even say it, but maybe I can write it down in the description and comments. If you read through the description and comments, I'll write down some of Beauveria bassinia. And I don't have any notes, so I'm just kind of like trying to remember. But Beauveria bassinia gets rid of tons of scales, thrips, mealybugs, and it's a beneficial bacteria. And I can see a small aphid here. And that Beauveria bassinia would get rid of the aphid. The other cool thing is beneficial fungi. And there's all different types of trichodermias, and they help get rid of different types of mildews or different types of pathogens, viruses, diseases. And using those is really simple because you can purchase them as a powder and you can just sprinkle that inside your watering can. All right, guys, I want you guys to please shout out in the comments on anything that you want to hear for the future of this series. And if you're down to like subscribe or whatever to the series or to my channel or however that works, I'd be stoked, because I want to just keep sharing this, and I really do want to learn along with you guys. So putting things for pronunciations is really helpful for me, and putting any kind of comments on like suggestions for future videos. Like I said, I'm going to do how to do a cactus cutting, how to plant cactus, and just some other cool fun videos. Hopefully I can add some humor and stuff in there. And if there's any cactus in particular that you guys want to hear about, and plants, if you guys want to hear about certain plants, or if you guys want to hear about like Buddha or whatever, you just let me know. If you want to hear it, I'm down to make a video and try to delve into it. And if it's just something simple, I'm also happy to just try to answer in the comments on suggestions. All right, cheers, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And drop a comment saying what's up if you made it this far. What's up? I'm Dave. I'll see you guys for the next one. Cheers. And maybe there's a link right here or somewhere. I don't know how to do it yet, but maybe there will be one day. All right, later. Oh yeah, turn this off.